There we go. Okay. I was trying to sorry you guys, figure everything out um with this new streaming I'm using. I'm live on everything. It's supposed to be. Um so I'm trying to make sure I'm live on Facebook and Instagram. So let's see. Okay, let me go to my Instagram. Okay. Oh my God. Why isn't this not working? Hey, you guys, I'm just waiting for my guest, Jazmine Steele. Hoping everything is live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm trying to connect Instagram, but somehow this is not working, but we're going to make this work. And then I will figure everything out. This is a new platform that I'm using to do my shows. So I really hope you guys can hear me and we'll have a great show tonight. Um, so I'm really looking forward to it. Yes, I'm back. Sorry. So I am so sorry. So, hey everyone, this is Brandee J on What the Hell with Brandee J, and this is my first time using a new platform to do my shows, where it streams on multiple channels. So I am looking forward to streaming with you guys tonight. We have a great guest. Her name is Jazmine Steele. You guys, if you're based in San Diego or everywhere, you know who she is. Healing expert, advocates for women to heal and just do things. And she's just an amazing person. Excuse me. So I'm just waiting for her to tap in. And thank you guys for joining tonight. If you are joining, you're catching me on Facebook and YouTube live. I am so sorry for those who were trying to catch me on Instagram, but it's not working. And she is going to be hopping on soon. So we're just going to wait for her to get here. I'm about to change the settings. So they're both of us on the screen, and then we'll get started. And I appreciate you guys. So tonight we're going to be talking about how to heal from trauma, which is a big thing, which a lot of us are going through and facing and dealing with, and just having a hard time dealing with. It takes a lot to heal from your trauma, and it takes a lot of steps. And okay, so I am live. um So, okay, I'm happy because I was trying to see if this was right. Because, like I said, this is my first time using this platform, which connects to all your social media, which is great. So when you go live and you're streaming your shows, you can just hit one button. But like I said, I'm only live right now on Facebook and YouTube. I was trying to do another platform, Instagram, but it's not working right now. But we will get on there in a minute. Oh, here she is. I see her popping up. Can you hear me, hon? Oh, wait, I can't hear you. Let's see. Okay, something's happening. All right. Okay, let me see. Edit mic settings. Let me just try to edit your settings. Okay. I am so sorry, you guys. I'm still trying to work all this out. And okay, I'm waiting for her to get back on. And we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna have a good time and just seeing what's going on. Okay, just making sure you guys can hear me. So as I said, we're going to talk about, okay, she's coming back. Add to the stage. Let me add her.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yay!
Girl, I'm trying to work out this new software. I was like, oh my God. I was trying to like really work out this new software because I'm like, I was testing it. It was fine. It was like easy. And then I'm like, okay, well, what's going on?
We got it together.
We did. We got it together. So we are live on Facebook and YouTube. My Instagram was tripping, so I didn't want to try to figure it out with you on the show. So okay, I'm going to figure it out behind the scenes. But we are live on 2 streaming platforms, and you are my first guest on what the hell with Brandee J. Girl, I'm so. Oh God. Well, that's good. I'm trying to see how I can see you on my screen.
Okay, I can see you though. Just so you know, I can see you.
Okay, I can see you too. It's since I'm still trying to get used to this, so we're gonna figure out. We're just gonna jump right in.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, well, thank you so much.
We get to learn. We get to be students. Okay, tonight.
You know, it's a different platform for me versus being in the studio and doing this. And I wanted a platform that I can just do it from my house, just to be honest, from you, and just the more comfortable setting and to reach more people. So I really appreciate you being my first guest on What the Hell with Brandee J. And everyone's like, how did you get that name? Because that's what I always say to my kids. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? So I was like, hey, sounds good for me. But please let everyone know, if they don't know you, about you. I want you to tell your story about who you are, what made you decide to do what you are doing now as being an advocate for women in healing, and just really just a positive person. Like, for someone who's endured I know your story, some of the things you've gone through, you just still maintain a positive outlook on life. And that to me is a tremendous thing. So please let the viewers know who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jazz of She Writes Total Wellness, formerly known as Heal with Jazz Steele. For those that may have been following me on social media the last 9 years or so, that has been my healing brand. And maybe we'll dive into a little bit about why I changed that. But I'm also an author. Yes. I wrote a book called Love Incorruptible, and that was a book that God placed on my heart over a decade ago, and got to release that story and really shape the main character after my life and the things that I've gone through, which honestly, it's a a lot of the similar things that many Black families have gone through. So I didn't share anything new. I simply shared it. And through sharing it, that process was therapeutic for me, had allowed me to address some childhood traumas and really connect some of my adult choices to that childhood trauma. And as a result, many others have healed from that story and also got reconnected to their childhood and began their healing journey. And that was a few years ago. And that, that part of my life really opened up the doors to me moving into advocacy. And so I'm a domestic violence advocate as well. I work with survivors individually and in small groups, and help to bring different types of healing modalities to our community, ways of healing through therapy and through all sorts of modalities that many folks in our community don't have access to, never heard of, can't afford. And so I put on healing events with my partner, Solana Beach for Equality, which is a grassroots organization here in San Diego. And so we host intimate groups for women to heal. And my mission in life is to continue to share and continue to share my testimony. And I know as I continue to do that, it really does free up others to do the same, because when they see you sharing, being unapologetic, being transparent and honest, other folks are like, well, dang, I went through that too. Yep. And I've been hiding under shame this entire time. And so maybe I can start talking about it. And that's really where the healing starts to begin. So.
Well, that's great. I really want you to also dive into some of the things that you've had to heal from. I know you said you are a survivor advocate and a survivor of domestic abuse, which that's something you and I both have in common. And there's different forms of domestic abuse that a lot of people just think it's physical, and it's not just physical. But I really want you to dive into some of the things you've had to heal with, so people can get a better understanding of, you do have experience in healing from trauma, and you know what you're talking about, because, nowadays I just feel like there's so many people out there who have a platform who they've never been through nothing, but they always got something to say.
Right. It's always easy to tell other folks what they should do. But one of the toughest things to do is look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself what you need to do. And that's
so if you, I'm just speaking my truth. Like, if you haven't been through something, that's why are you talking about it? Like, that's just what I'm not about to sit here and talk about something I've never been through or give advice on it.
Absolutely.
But if you could just go into some of the things that you did go through, so the audience has a better understanding of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And so trauma, like you said, it's the buzzword of today, right? It's all over social media. And I'm happy that word has kind of bubbled and reared its head, because it's creating conversation and dialogue. And, not all the dialogue may be accurate or healthy. However, we're talking about it. And so some of the things that I personally have experienced, that many of us have experienced, is a parent divorcing. So growing up in a single parent home. And as a result, that put us in a lot of challenging circumstances, whether that was us moving quite often, because my mom, living off of one income, raising two kids wasn't always the easiest thing for her. So we moved a lot. We were in environments that weren't necessarily the healthiest. I've experienced molestation. I've experienced losing my virginity in a near rape situation where I was 12 years old and the person was 17 or 18. And so with that being said, being left vulnerable in situations that expose me to a lot of risk, experiencing drugs and alcohol at a very young age. I drank my first 40. I was probably 11. I got my nickname I got my nickname from being able to down a whole 8 Ball. 8 Ball was the brand of beer, and I remember that was like a rite of passage. If I
Oh
could
my
finish
gosh.
the whole beer, that was something that made me feel included because that was the environment that I was in around, folks that dabbled in drugs and gang activity. And then I entered a very unhealthy relationship at a very young age. I didn't know it was unhealthy, but later on, learning that I was dealing with things like emotional abuse, mental abuse, financial abuse. These are things that I wasn't aware of when I was experiencing it. It wasn't until after I removed myself from the situation that I was able to have that hindsight and look back and really start to question like some of my choices. I had hit this aha moment 9 years ago as I was beginning my divorce. And you've been divorced before, and anybody that's
Girl,
been,
twice.
yeah, same, to the same person, but literally 2 times process twice. But from that experience that it feels your whole world has been shaken up. All the
Yeah.
dreams that you might have had for that marriage, now you have to, watch go down the drain. You get to see the impact it has not only on you, but your children. And it becomes like this time of awakening because now you're
Yeah.
starting over again.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in that window of starting my life over that I began my healing journey. And what I mean by that is I recognized that there were choices that I was making that weren't healthy for me. So I couldn't continue to blame my partner. I couldn't continue to blame my parents. They did the best they could with the knowledge they had and the resources
Yeah.
they had. Shoot, my mama was in survival mode majority of the time she was raising us. So when you're in survival mode, you don't make the best decisions, right?
And I
Because
believe, and I believe
you're
that's a
simply
lot of
trying
African
to
American
survive.
stories. That's a story of our
That's
parents
the
being in
story,
survival mode and trying to make ends meet and trying to do certain things. And then
right?
we were looking at as one way. And I remember telling my kids, I said, you could not survive in the
Right.
era where we grew up, and had to deal with certain things on our own at a very young age.
Yes. Yes.
And I feel like it probably made, I don't want to speak for you, but I know as a mother, for me, it made me more hands-on with my kids because of
Absolutely.
how we were. And I just don't think people understand that. Like, you can't be, I just say it. I have a sister who's in her 50s still blaming my mom and dad. Girl, stop.
Mhm. Mhm. And
Like,
we all have that moment if we have it.
yeah,
We all have that moment of enlightenment or awakening at different ages, different times in our lives. Typically, in my experience, pain is what pushes people to those moments where they really want to take responsibility for their lives.
yeah,
You want to shift out of blame and being the victim of your circumstance. Now you're ready to transition and take ownership and accept what has already occurred can't be changed, but I'm willing to look forward now. I'm willing to do whatever
yeah,
I need to do so that I can progress and get myself out of this situation, get myself out of unhappiness, out of anger, out of rage, out of shame. These are things that so many of us are, living under, and we get used to living this way. And so we say things like, I'm good. But really deep down inside, you really ain't good. You just living.
yeah.
You just got your
You're
mask
going
on
through the motion.
and going through the motions. Exactly. And so, you know, my prayer is that everybody has that moment where they realize that it's time to look in the mirror, because that's when the healing starts, is when you decide to do that.
And why do you feel like, I feel this way, but do you feel like
Mhm.
people don't want to do that? Look in the
Yes,
mirror and have those honest conversations with themselves. And if you know someone who needs to do that, what advice would you give that person?
that's a great question. I mean, why don't people want to look in the mirror? Because it's painful. There can be shame there. There
Mhm.
can be unforgiveness there. There can be deep, deep fear. It's associated with heavy negative emotions. Some people don't want to relive their past. They don't
Yeah.
want to experience those things again. They've been spending their entire life really wanting to run away or avoid or escape the pain. But the reality is the pain never goes anywhere. The trauma doesn't disappear. You know, when Uncle so-and-so touched you and you felt really, really uncomfortable at the age of
Yep.
6, and this continued to go on, and it was a secret for you, and now it's this secret that you've carried your whole life. And yeah, you might have been able to have a career and a family, but that part of you is still there. And if we don't address it, it doesn't get to heal. So with that being said, I think some folks get used to the Band-Aid. And so because of that, if I can just keep this Band-Aid on here, I can kind of handle, people feel like they can just kind of handle it, but they're not really, but they're not fully living. They're not fully feeling, they're not fully living, they're not getting really the most out of life. And so all of us have those people around us. We may be that person who's struggling to let go of the things that are no longer serving us. You know, a lot of times our trauma, I would say more often than not, our trauma shows up. It's going to show up in our relationships. It's going to show up in our interactions at work. It, like I said, it doesn't disappear. So it's going to show up. And typically when it starts to show up and impact the people around you, that is when some of us start to say, okay, maybe it's not everybody. I'm the common denominator here. Maybe it's me.
You said it. And I realized, like, people don't want to have those honest conversations with themselves.
Yeah.
And
it's hard.
It's hard. I remember starting my true healing journey during 2020 during COVID, when I was getting out of a relationship, and I looked at the last 3 relationships I was in, terrible toxic people, all this stuff, but I was the common denominator. And then I had to say, Brandee, you the problem. So what is it about you that you're doing that's putting out this energy to attract these toxic people who you don't need to be in your life? So what can you do different to have a healthy relationship and do all that? And that is when I said enough is enough. And I put my ass in counseling. I was in therapy twice a week, facing everything. Like, it was that time during COVID when you were locked, couldn't go nowhere. I was dealing with therapy.
That was a great time.
And my own stuff, because I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this anymore. I can't deal with this. And now, after that whole healing experience and having these boundaries that I've set for myself and cutting people off, family members, ex-friends, I just don't care anymore. If you interrupt my peace and you trigger me to set me back, you don't respect my journey. And I can't deal with you. But everyone's not as strong as you and I. Like, everyone just can't do that, like you said, because they don't want to deal with it. But I feel like we're at a time where we got to deal with this shit, or it's just going to eat you up alive.
Well, your question was, you know, how do you help people around you that may be stuck or needing to heal? And my number one answer to that is prayer. Because prayer changes things. And we may not see the changes in our lifetime. Our prayers may be answered in the next generation. And so we only can, you know, control our choices for the most part. Of course, if there's mental health involved, there's some choices that we aren't making. It's just our brain is kind of reacting. But for the most part, we get to control our choices and our decisions. We cannot control other people's choices and decisions. And so the way that we can help our community heal and our families heal, because healing is contagious, is by us doing it, by us doing the work. So it's not a matter of us trying to get somebody around us to heal, because they have their own journey that they're on. But we get to practice the healing, right? Like you mentioned, drawing boundaries. So, you know, the way that you might have interacted For instance, with me, the way I might have interacted with my mom, in my youth growing up, now I'm interacting with her differently because there's been some
Yeah.
growth on my part. And some of those interactions weren't very healthy. But now that I'm on the other side of some of those things, I can see that. And so now I can respond differently. So it's through your healing process that you actually aid in the healing of those around you by the way you begin interacting with them, by the way you begin to speak to them, by you drawing your boundaries, by you leading with love. It hasn't always
Mm.
been easy. There's been times for me where I've gotten frustrated because I felt like alone and like the only one,
Yeah.
in my family that's doing this work. And so as I continued to grow, though, so did my compassion for them and for myself. And I started to release some of that control and wanting the people around me to heal so badly. Everybody, we all need to heal so that you can be easier for me to tolerate.
Mm.
But when we realize, sometimes we
She
realize
said easier for me to tolerate.
that's what it is. We want people to
That's
change
yep.
to make things easier for us.
Easy
And
for us. Yep.
that's not how this works. That's not how this works. So I would say for sure, prayer is the number one way to begin to start to break up some of that, those strongholds for those that do believe in the spirit realm. Prayer breaks up some of those strongholds, and then you also doing your work and leading by example.
How do you, because this is one thing I'm not gonna lie, I have a problem with when you are healing, and I've said this, when you've healed, it's hard for a healed person to communicate with a person who's still in their toxic ways. Because I feel like the communication doesn't align.
Yes.
And it's very frustrating. And maybe my approach is not the best, which is, you know what, I'm going to keep giving chances, but then I'm going to end up cutting you off because it's unhealthy for me. So what advice or how would you help someone in that situation when they're healed and they're trying to communicate with someone who's still not healed and who's in their toxic form, but this person is a loved one, is a family member, and trying to, like you said, we can't force other people to heal, but how do you continue to have those conversations with people who are not healed?
Well, you get to use discernment. So you get to use wisdom as well. So as you're healing, again, your wisdom is increasing, your discernment is increasing. These things are you are becoming, more of a quality communicator, those kinds of things. So, use discretion. Is it a good time to have the conversation? Can I diffuse the conversation at the beginning by saying, I really have some things on my heart I want to talk about. I don't want to offend you. So this is coming from my heart. So just setting your intentions, being honest up front. Like, I don't want you to get defensive. These are things that are coming from my heart I want to share. If it's someone who's argumentative, or we all get defensive because, again, if we have unhealed trauma, it's like walking around with an open wound. And anytime someone says anything, that can, anything is like, touching this sensitive sore, my words can, with all my good intentions, can still hurt you.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with someone who can be quick to defense, which I have been, that's how I use that diffusing language ahead of time. But say they do get defensive and say they're argumentative anyway, you can always table it. You can always table the conversation. You don't have to have it, because if someone's not in the space to receive, they ain't going to receive it.
Yeah.
Some other ways to consider. Some other ways, depending on what the situation is, say you're looking to forgive a parent, something heavy like that. Or forgive, an ex or something. Writing a letter is another way to communicate that, because it allows you to get it out, and you can choose to send it to them or not. But, there's various ways that we can navigate having difficult conversations. But I know being direct is also an important tool, not harsh, not sarcastic, not mean, not coming from a place because you're activated and you turned up and you giving the truth, but it's coming out real sharp. I can feel the daggers. This is this truth. I hear the truth, but I'm not receiving the truth because you're shooting it at me.
Yeah.
So whoa. let's get grounded here so that I can receive your truth. So also when you are leading these conversations, make sure your heart is right. Yeah. Make sure you're coming from a place of love and not a place of anger, not a place of frustration, because that energy is going to translate to the other person. They're going to pick up on it. They're going to feel it. And then, there goes those defenses. There goes those walls. So this stuff takes practice. It ain't like they was sitting in the classroom teaching us, sitting us across from each other saying, here are some effective communication tools, class. This is how you handle this type of conversation, or this is how you regulate your emotions. If you feel that you're getting activated and angry, here's some tools to regulate your emotions. We're having these conversations now, thank God, but we wasn't taught this stuff.
No, we were growing up. We weren't even allowed to cry.
That part.
And, my dad saw that as a sign of weakness. He was raising all girls. So now, like, I just got comfortable in my 40s crying in front of my partner.
Oh, wow.
Good for you. Being vulnerable. Because I'm like, and what really did it for me was my son. Like, he is sensitive. He's a sensitive one. And me and my daughter just had this conversation the other day, and I told her a situation that happened where I did like the 3-step process of listening to him. And I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was doing it, and I was responding in a calm manner. And she says, Mom, like, you were just so angry with me. I said, I said, you got the unhealed mother raising you. Your brother has the healed one. So it's going to be different. And I apologize for that. But I didn't know at that time, raising you in my 20s, I needed any healing. Like, you're not thinking about that until you get older, where now I'm in my 40s and there's different ways of handling things. So how, as a parent, I mean, you have, more than one child. So I'm sure, 3 girls, I'm sure from how you raise your oldest to the youngest is completely different.
Oh yeah, she tells me all the time, Mom, if my grades look like that, I would have been no phone, no this, no that. She told me I didn't play with her. Like, I didn't let her get away with nothing. I was taking electronics from her, and then she sees me parenting her sisters. And there is the age gap. I mean, my oldest is 25, and then the two that are still home are 15 and 10. So my
oldest is 23 and the youngest is 14. So it's a big age difference.
And you grew so much in between those years of having them. And then you're continuing to grow. And so my youngest is getting an even better version than my 15-year-old got. And she got a better version than my 25-year-old got. But the beauty is they all get to experience this version right now. By the grace of God, my children, my 25-year-old may not have gotten this version of me at age 2, but she's getting her at 25. And then, and she will continue to have this evolving mother as her example. And so it's definitely different raising my oldest to my youngest. I'm definitely incorporating techniques that I didn't have, like you said, and I'm learning. Like, I'm literally learning. I try new things with them. Folks say there's no textbook to raise kids. There's plenty of textbooks. There's a lot of information out there to help you raise your children.
You got to be willing to receive the information.
You got to be willing to receive the information. And my number one go-to for information is this thing right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it says
I can see the Bible, girl. I know what a Bible looks like.
So this is my go-to. This has become my go-to, and God is true.
You ain't got to tell me. I know that leather is from anywhere.
With the gold, with the gold.
With the
That's a
gold,
good right there.
girl. For the grace of
Oh,
God, my dad
God.
passed. It'll be 10 years this month, but my mom gave me his Bible, and I still have his Bible to this day. And girl,
Mhm.
we know what the Bible looked like in a black house.
That part, and I'm grateful. Like I definitely, have explored other religion. Like in college, I deliberately took courses in other religious beliefs because I wanted to learn. I
Yeah.
did, another thing that happens on your healing journey is we get to decide what we want to keep from our past and what we don't want to keep. Some things that
Yeah.
we were taught, we might want to keep that. There are other things we've been taught that we don't want to keep. Again, if our parents were
Yeah.
in survival mode, there were a lot of teachings and things that we saw modeled that weren't the best choices or the healthiest choices. But again, they were doing the best they could with the resources they had. So now that we are in this woke generation, meaning we have access to all of this information, we get to choose to do things differently. We don't have to keep saying, well, my mama spanked me and I turned out fine. Well, you really didn't, because you don't even know how to cry. You know what I mean? Like,
Say that
you have locked up emotions inside of you because of that.
exactly. And
So
there's nothing wrong with changing things from
no.
your past. Like even my son, he said, Mom, there's nothing wrong with gentle parenting me. And of course, the natural reaction as a black mama was like, what?
Gentle what?
But then that was my reaction.
This is
I
new
was like,
age.
wait a minute. I was like, okay, these damn kids. And then there's moments I do gentle parent, and then there's moments he gets the other version because I told you 3 times to do something, you ain't done it. So now you're gonna get the other version because the gentle parenting just didn't work. So now you about to get crazy mama. But I just feel like there are ways
Yes.
to, like you said, incorporate what we, because my foundation is what I grew up on.
Absolutely.
But as you get older, you change it and you do what's best for you and where you are at in your life, like you said. And I think that is a beautiful thing. I think it's a real beautiful thing because then for me, I felt more free. So how did you feel when you started coming into your healing own and was able to take what you learned from as a child and then to now, as a grown woman being a mother, but to incorporate both?
I mean, it's all a part of evolution. We should change. We need to embrace change because it's inevitable. Yeah. It's happening every day. So learning how to become resilient and being able to flow and adjust to change, that's something that we need to embrace versus pushing it away or, hiding from it. But, change isn't easy for most human beings. We're stuck in our ways. We want to do what feels safe to us. And, sometimes that can negatively impact the people around us. So I'm not sure if that answered your question because we kind of been dancing around.
It answers my question, but we can dance. I just feel like this topic is because there's so much, like I said, your background and who you are. You have so much knowledge, not just as a woman, but as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, so as a friend. So you're healing. When you are healing, it affects all those relationships.
Yes, it does.
And you have all those experiences, and then you get to the point of your life, you're just like, I'm happy with who I am. I love this healed version. These relationships are probably they're gonna look different. And how did you deal with that when relationships that, I don't know, if like with friendships you had for years and now it just doesn't fit in your life anymore? Like, how did you deal with closing that chapter? Because sometimes people have a hard time doing that, even though if they are healed.
No, it's painful. It's painful because you've been used to having these relationships in your life. And sometimes these relationships, again, you're growing, Maybe they're not, or maybe they're growing at a slower pace, but you're growing. And so, we've heard the term, everybody can't go.
Yeah.
Everybody can't go to the levels of growth that you are aiming for, that you are destined for. And so some relationships will be completely removed. Some will decrease in time spent. And again, it's so many of these old adages that are like so true that you hear now. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So really embrace
when you get older, we realize our parents are right.
Right. So I posted something on my stories the other day. I'm realizing now that I'm older, I'm grown, I'm realizing everything my mama said was right. I just didn't like her tone.
That was so true. That was so
oh God. I definitely know my teenager for sure will be saying that one later. But what were we at? What did you say?
About ending relationships when you
so ending
those long-term relationships.
Yeah. So embracing those truths, because those things are really true. Some relationships are here for a season, for a reason and for a lifetime. So embracing those things and then trusting God. Like, just trust him. Trust your personal journey. Trust that if you lose somebody, they wasn't meant for the next season. Maybe some folks you might come back around to. There may be restoration of some of those relationships. That's also a possibility too. I've experienced that. So I think, again, when you're really healing and intentionally on this path and walking closely with God, because to me, the healing cannot happen out without God. Because God,
can't.
He created me. He knows the purpose that I was put on this earth. And so I can't go outside of him and try to fix something when he's my source. So staying connected to my source of strength, my source of protection, my source of being provided for, staying in tune and connected with my source is what has helped me to move through those things like losing relationships. Because I'm never alone. I always have Jesus with me. So if I always have him with me, I'm never alone. And so if I believe
say that again, girl, I ain't been to church in a minute, but I'm in church now.
Look. He told me he was going to never leave me, never forsake me. And even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he will be with me. So if I believe those things and I'm losing people along the way, I can trust that where he's taking me is where I'm supposed to be going. So if they're not coming, they're not supposed to be there. So I think that there has to be this acceptance of losing people and embracing that as a part of your walk. That, I'm going to lose some people. And it's going to hurt too. And I'm going to also overcome that pain. This is really embracing that it's a part of the journey.
It is a part of the journey. I mean, I've lost friends and people, and family members. But at the time, I remember telling my brother this a couple months ago. I said, I'm okay with it. And he said, that's a scary place to be. I said, it's not a scary place to be. It's a comfort place because I'm okay with it because I know God has something else out there better for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it's all about what we believe.
Yeah.
It's also what we believe and what we're telling ourselves. When we tell ourselves, I'm not going to get through this. This is so hard. If our self-talk is negative, it's going to just add to what we're already going through.
To it. Yeah.
So if we believe and if we have hope and if we believe in a future, that our future is going to be better than our past, if we're speaking that type of stuff to ourselves along the way, and then again, we can't do it alone because you're going to have bad days. You're going to have bad weeks. You're going to have bad months. I was depressed for 9 months straight in 2022. So this is a lifelong process, but just know that as you are moving in the process, it may feel like this, but it's also going up and down as you're going up at the same time. So your healing is moving, it's ascending, but there's going to be valleys, there's going to be mountains along the way. And so embrace that. Embrace that is it's going to not always feel good.
And feel those feelings. And that's one thing
Yes.
I had to learn in therapy when my therapist said, Brandee, it is okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel like you don't know what you're going to do, or it's okay to feel these feelings, but don't stay there. A lot.
Yes.
And this is what I tell myself, like, if I'm ending a relationship with someone, whatever, and I'm feeling sad about it, I have to allow myself to mourn that relationship and feel it, so those feelings can get out of me, so then I can move forward and heal from that. And I tell people that's what you have to do. Allow yourself to feel. It is okay. We don't have to be superwoman as Black women, as we always. It's okay to feel. If you want to feel sad for a day, feel sad for a day. It's okay. Cry it out.
Yep.
Just don't stay there. But feel those feelings and process. My last question, because we can go all night and we got things to do. And you know, my son's with his dad, and I'm like, it's just me, so I can talk all night. But I know, you know, I don't want Facebook or anyone to cut us off. Like, these heifers have been talking too long.
That just means we need a part 2, Brandee. We just need a part 2.
We're gonna have a part 2 because I feel like even more now than ever with the results of these elections and how Black women are coming together, and we are just at a point where it's more of us are the 92% of us are focusing on us and our healing and our journey. And like I tell people, it's not just about the mental healing, it's about the physical. It's about getting yourself back on your workouts, doing whatever you need to do for yourself. So my last question is, like, what are the things you are doing in this climate of the world, of how a lot of the 92% of Black women are feeling right now? How are you going to move forward from this?
So staying focused and staying in tune and staying connected to God. I really am, because, you know, the things that we see in this world with our naked eye, there's also a whole world spiritually that things are also taking place. So I'm finding like more of us are praying, coming together to prayer. I had an impromptu prayer earlier today with 2 of my really, really good girlfriends, and just finding your tribe, finding your like community. Who are the good people that they're where you want to be in life? Maybe they're down the line further where you want to be in life. But, you know, really spending time with folks that believe what you believe, that are moving in the same direction as you is key. Coming together in community. So yeah, we can pray together. But guess what else we can do together? We can go into business together. We can build the economy within our own communities by coming together. Like you said, being able physically, being physically active, taking care of ourselves physically. I recently hosted a couple of workshops on trauma, and we were learning about how trauma stores itself in the brain, and how fun and physical activity helps to heal trauma. So getting outside and walking 30 minutes a day, getting some sunlight, doing some, you know, yoga, finding something on YouTube, dancing, going out to ride a bike, like just pure fun, pure bliss, pure being in the state of like being childlike, getting out of your head and getting into your body, because we've also, because of the trauma, become detached from our bodies, and our bodies are really speaking to us. You know, I know if I'm in a state of anxiousness, my shoulders get tight. And I know that about myself because I've been paying attention to myself. So also, you know, taking care of yourselves physically is also healing your trauma. And you may not even have been aware of it when you were working out in the gym, that you were actually working to heal some of your trauma. So again, more information, more things that we're learning. Educate yourself. We don't have to be sitting in a classroom to learn, because we got the World Wide Web. So we got to be careful. We got to be careful of our sources, and if they're credible, and you know, being very mindful, being, you know, very, very selective.
Don't say. I thought you were going to say demure. I was going to say, girl.
Very, very demure about how we educate ourselves, but you know, self-education and again, your associations are everything when you're healing, because it's like a protective coat. And you want to be around people that are speaking life into you, that are going to be there to support you along the way. And those are some of the things that I would say would be important at this time. And what I'm doing as a Black woman is, when I take care of me, I'm taking care of my fiance, I'm taking care of my children, I'm taking care of any business partners, I'm taking care of my neighbor. When I take care of me, I'm in a better mood. I'm gonna go take my neighbor some banana bread I made earlier today. Because why? Because I'm in a good mood, because I've been filling my cup all day. So I have the excess. I'm not taking from my own cup where I'm depleting me, but it's the overflow that now I get to go be kind. I have that extra kindness to give without attachment.
To give to others.
Where I can give it freely, and I'm not expecting anything back from you, because I just have it. The Lord said, here, let me give her a little. She got some abundance today. And my goal is to live in that space of abundance every day. Do I live in that space every day? No. Is that a goal? Make sure my cup is overfilled every day? Yes, that's my goal. So taking care of me is going to take care of you and take care of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much. Like I said, we can keep going and going, but I'm going to have you back on, because I just feel like this conversation is needed, and
so much more.
It's so much more to unwrap and to unpack and really get into in different areas. One, I do want to bring you back to talk about, we were both divorced and, properly co-parenting with the other parent, and, dealing with that. And people don't understand how that is when me and my ex, we have a great relationship. Like it's, hey homie, like there's, no issues, but I really want to bring you back on for so much. And I want to thank you so much for being my first guest on What the Hell with Brandee J. And I look forward to fixing this Instagram problem. So I'm going to dive into this tomorrow, because I'm really going to just learn everything about this program, which I was learning myself, but I was like, okay, let me just do this.
No, I'm so happy that I'm happy you took the leap of faith in doing it and not knowing all the details of doing it, but you just did it. You just did it. And that's what this is. That's what this is
and that's what I'm about.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have
and you've been doing it for quite some time, ma'am.
Thank you. Girl, I told you I was doing it on my own. I'm doing this my way, Brandee's way. I ain't got time for nobody else except for my partner,
when I met
kids.
you were hosting and doing all kind of stuff. Like you've been doing stuff. And that was one of the reasons why, when you reached out to me to have the conversation, I was down for it, because healing needs to be talked about. You've been very consistent. And I know your story as well. So God bless you. I definitely appreciate you having me on today, and wishing you much success with your show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, hon. And make sure you support anything Jazmine has going on. She's always so positive. I'm not going to, every time I look, as she pops up, I'm like, yes, girl. I be just like this sometimes, but that's what I love. So thank you so much. Make sure you support, follow her. I'll give you guys all her information. And thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And I will be back within a week on the next episode on What the Hell with Brandee J. So you guys have a good night.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.